Hello everyone. So in this video, I'm going to show you a just the starting workflow for the Greeble Bake add-on. Um, Also, this has been released in Gumroad and also in Blender Market, so you can go check it out. Yeah, and also, this video will be replaced by a more streamlined video later on. I just want to make a really quick video for this because the more streamlined version will take longer to do. Of course, I have to uh, actually write a script for that and then record the corresponding videos that will match up with the voices, all that. But it will, of course, uh, be better to watch and learn using that video instead of just me doing it live. Okay. So Greeble Bake, what it does is, of course, make it easier to create your own texture maps using just a primitive plane, or you can use other what I call bake origin objects. Bake origin being the uh, you can see the orange dot here. That is the origin of our primitive plane. And in the script, when you use this, in Blender, when you bake stuff, you need a bake to object essentially. So, for example, this is the object that you're going to bake the details from. Blender needs a bake to object. That's why in the bake right here, you can see the selected to active. That is what the script uses. So, but the script automates this by creating this inside the script and then destroying it unless you have a bake to object set. You can set a bake to object using this because the automated UV unwrap using conform shape, according to the documentation, is that the default unwrap is not editable. So if you want to have a your own UV unwrap set, you need to have to essentially use a bake to objects. For example, if this is as long as this one, we bake this. We're just going to bake the normals to make it faster. So bake origin object, we can use this because essentially it started out as a primitive plane and the bake origin is essentially untouched. Okay, pick this and then we're going to bake just the normal and then bake to last images so we don't create too many images. So if we bake this, you can see that it only, so by default, the bake to object created by the script is the same size as the primitive plane. So you can see that it only baked this part here. So in order for the bake to plane to conform to the size of the object of our the bake from object, essentially, we're going to use conform shape. So the bake to plane that is created by the script will conform to the shape of our bake from object. Okay, bake. Okay, there we go. So the only problem here is that the UV unwrap is not editable. It always will end up like this, kind of rotated. So if you were to bake this, you need to use a bake to object. If you're using a bake to object here, set here, then this will no longer have an effect because this of course, is controlling the size and offset for the bake to plane created by the script. But since we're using a bake to object now, then they are no longer use. You can no longer use this for this one here. So essentially, you are controlling the shape and the offset of the bake to plane right here. Okay. So set the bake to plane, and then the bake origin object is right here. So do not select the bake to object, okay? Because it will be included in the bake, so don't select it, okay? And about this list right here, the bake origin list here lists the object selected, so you can set the bake origin from the selection. And the bake to object lists the objects that are not selected, so you can set the bake to origin from the selected object, from the unselected object. But of course, like I said, do not, when you're baking, do not select the bake to object. Okay, so plain and then bake to object right here. And then you can, of course, unwrap it. Let's go to an UV editor. Then you can set it like anywhere you want. You can then set it like this, and then click that, then bake. There we go. So that's the advantage of using a bake to object. Or you can just stay with uh, the default bake to plane used by the script by making this empty. Okay. Okay. Without conform shape, the bake to plane size is just this. The the default size of the primitive plane when you add it in Blender using this. So that's why the documentation talks about the primitive plane as the optimal canvas, quote unquote canvas for the baking process. Okay, and let's use multiple objects. Let's make a pattern, or let's do multiple objects first. So for example, I'm going to try X, Y, Z. Oh, not Z. Draw my fires. Nothing about to say. And going to use random loop extrude to create the multiple objects because this creates multiple objects based on the number of loops, and then we going to set different shading, auto smooth shading for this. Right before seed. Okay, then could also try and I'm going to update random flow and panel cutter next because there are of course updates to those. Panel cut, so border sharp or middle sharp. You can sharpen the middle part, middle edge like that, or sharpen the border edges, or just sharpen the border edges. Okay, so that's for the next update. Okay, so size again, size. Let's for example, this is the bake to plane created by the script. The size controls the size of the bake to plane unless you're using conform shape. If you're using conform shape, the size property no longer works. Okay, so the size controls the size of the canvas, and the offset is basically the how it rises up towards the z-axis. So essentially, the documentation says that the bake origin object's origin point is where the bake to plane will be created. So essentially, in the script, the bake to plane is created at the position of the bake. origins origin point. So course selection to cursor. So starts out like that. Then it offsets at point two, like that. Okay. And then when you increase this, it goes higher. So you increase this value. So for example, if you have details that go past the heights or the offset of these bake to plane created by the script, you will notice that the not the baked depth map or normal or AO map has been clipped. Then you need to increase this value to avoid the clipping. Okay, but let's just try and bake this selection. So in this selection, uh, I can no longer see this. I want to use this plane here as the bake to object, but I can select it using the eyedropper. So I can just click on this and this will of course show the objects in the selection and click it. Bake to object, we're not using a manual bake to object. We don't need, I'm only going to use this if I need, like, like I said, the manual UV unwrap. Let's bake AO on that. Bake. So you need to save the images. If you like the baked images that you got, you need to save it. Oh, I need to brighten this up. After baking, you can, of course, redo the bake using the F9 hotkey. These settings are only to set up the bake process. But if you want to affect the last operation, you use the F9 hotkey to bring up the redo panel. I want to set the brightness to 0.05. And then each time you change the property, the script will rework. So that's why it takes so long. Okay, so that too. This is just how Blender works. And if you get used to it, then you'd find that it's really um, it makes sense in the end. So this is our bake depth, and this is our bake AO. Okay, now let's create a material to make use of these textures. Of course, the material bit uh, that is for you to learn, but these textures are really just a primer. You set this up and then you set up the other layers for the other effects like dirt, like rust effects, and these are just the primary textures. This is just for the details. You need to the yeah, the details, and then for the grunge work, you actually need to study that yourself. Okay, so shader, new, and the depth map. You can actually use the depth map for diffuse, and you can control its color using the color app. You can, since the depth map is black and white or gradations of black and white, you can actually introduce color here like that. So also the normal and depth map or displacement map should be uh, using non-color as the color space. It is grayed out here because the texture is created in Blender. But if you were to open this text, if you have saved this texture map and then open it up externally into Blender, then this color space will not be grayed out and it will be set by default to RGB, is RGB. So you need to set it to non-color in order for this to work. For displacement and normal, for the normal map. Use the non-color color space for it to work. Okay, normal map. And then the AO, The AO is really just for multiplying to to the diffuse. Make sure that they use the same mapping, so they have no offset in their scaling. Okay, so multiply, and you can use just zero point 0.5 or something like zero point 0.7. Really up to you. You can even go to 1, but it will be really dark. Okay, set up some lighting. So we're going to use the depth map as a diffuse color. For the diffuse color, this is a bit of what they call procedural shading, constant. I guess it can only do two colors. Okay, just for an example. And then we're going to use the bake depth as for the displacement. So go to vector and displacement, connect this to the displacement, and connect this to height. Okay, again, non-color, bake displacement or depth non-color, and normal non-color as well for the color space. And then, okay, as you can see, there's no displacement because this needs geometry, and we need to add geometry using subdivision. We don't need this to be softened, so let's just use simple. So I need to actually watch the real resolution of the object. So I'm going to turn off the optimal display and let's use something like 7. Oh, and then go to the material and settings and set this to the displacement only, no bump. Mid level is 0.05, and then you can set the height, the displacement using the scale. And for the fidelity of the detail, you can increase the resolution. Just be careful because if you have a potato PC, it will probably have trouble. Uh, there's some serious overhead when using too much resolution, so just enough. So a good way to explain this is that if you are going to render this close up, then you can afford a higher resolution for the displacement. But if it is far away, then you can reduce the level of the subdivision because you don't need that much detail because you can't really see it clearly from far away, so you don't need that much subdivision. Or you can knock it off entirely like that and just let the normal do the work. But if it's closer and you want the displacement detail, then you can increase the subdivision right here. That way you need to plan this carefully. That way you don't um, the scene doesn't get too heavy that it doesn't render. You will run out of memory. Okay, and we can scale this. And then let's say, for example, you save this textures, then you can, in your dedicated folder, you name it, then you can reuse it again for other things. Like, for example, if you could just, we can set it for, if you want to design a crate, just simple. So it doesn't get rounded up like that, just a simple. And turn this off. So if you go to wireframe, you can see the resolution of the cube. So let's use the same material here. And this, the UV of the default cube looks like this. But if you want to set it like the plane, select every face and use reset. There we go. Then we can increase the solution, and we have our rate from a default cube. Okay, so like again, if you're rendering this far away like that, you can probably just use no displacement and just let the normals do the work. The normals actually affect shadows, kind of, and also reflections or specular. So uh, at uh, at longer distances, it actually works. The normal map can actually just do the work for you. But if it is closer and you want to break up the profile of the default cube, because the profile of the default cube is a default cube, it looks kind of boring and flat. So you increase the subdivision. And as the cube goes farther away from the camera, you can reduce the resolution a bit just to make your scene less heavy. But it's your choice. You can use displacement or you can just use the normal map. You can set this to 0 or just knock it off. Let's try setting this to 2. And it doesn't just, you can, let's see if I can. You can also get away from stretching it. So yeah, there's a lot of uses for this. And the great thing about this is it just, we just did this using the primitive plane as a canvas. Okay. Again, the add-on only bakes from the z-axis, the up towards the z-axis, the positive z-axis. So anything you design on the bake origin object, it will bake, and anything you put on top of it will get baked. But you need to select the objects you need to get baked. And also, if you're baking another set in the blend file, be sure to change the bake origin object because it doesn't clear out itself. So, but it will tell you, for example, if I bake this, it will tell you that select bake origin in selected objects. So you can do that. But yeah. So this is the bit from the. That's why I'm telling you that you need to save the textures. But we can just go ahead and rebake that. If you don't, sometimes when Blender refreshes or the data of the scene refreshes the scene, then the sometimes the unsaved texture, even if you put fake users to it, it will still get what the okay 0.05 and 2. It's big again. Oops. You need to save it. I might add a save feature in images in the future versions, but right now I really don't want to mess up your the reason why I didn't put it at first is I don't want to mess up the your files because um, the add-on basically makes it really fast to bake and also puts out a lot of texture images, so I don't want to mess up your file system. So basically, maybe I could put manual button here and not automate the bake origin and not save the images every time you push bake. Just create another button here that will save these images. Okay, maybe that's in the in future updates. Okay, so to save the image, you go to the image and then you press Alt S and it will show you a file browser where you can um, save the image. Click the image, takes the other image, then press Alt S. Okay, so this is our um, bake texture. Let's test it with something like a donut. 24 by 24. I think this is already UV'd. Speed smooth. Let's watch the UV. Yes, it's already, the primitives are already UV. Okay, and set it here. Oops, set the material here. And the subdivision modifier. Yeah, subdivision modifier. Probably just one. Then increase the size. Oh, let's not use simple. Let's use Scott Mount Clark. So this is our texture. Looks cool. Good. Now that is a donut. Okay, we have three objects now. Oops. Let's just delete this and set this to 0. Okay, we can actually okay, let's bake to the same map, but this time let's create a pattern and model the detail directly into the bake origin object. Okay, and then bake to last images. Bake. Let's see the effect here. Look at that. So this will allow you to build up your own library of texture maps. Okay, let's do another one. Plain Let's do a circle, subdivide, and then loop tools, circle, press F, and then inset and create the detail, and then bevel, put segments, shade smooth, okay, shade smooth by angle, and then bake. Whoops. Okay. Take the bake or set the bake origin object, then bake. Let's see the result here. Hopefully it's, ooh, it's not round. It's round. It's probably just the UV. Let's see it here. Yes, it's round. Let's try another pattern. This time we're going to use funnel cut. So this is actually digging. So this is actually where's that? Distance zero is at the origin point. So this is zero right at the origin point, and this is negative value right here. We need to include this. We need to include this detail. So we need to set the distance lower, point negative 0.05 to actually include those details. So let's bake. Oops. Okay. Yeah, I think we got it. And let's see. Go to shader and influence the. Maybe we could rotate it. Thank you. Then we can just select it. Select this details back. Pick the bake origin from the selection, and then bake with the same images. Then we got it back. But the colors are gone. It's probably because of the distance. Okay, let's rebake it. Let's set the distance to zero. Bake. There you go. That looks nice. So that's um it's basically the add-on. And once you get the basics, the workflow of the workflow going, then you can just have fun making all these patterns and making the details. I will, of course, continue to. I will create a more streamlined video to replace this in the future. But right now, it's um, nighttime here in my place. I just want to show you what you can do with this add-on. Let's try. What's next. The real great thing about this, when you see the product thumbnails in the stores, they're all abstract art. They were created using the same technique. using random flow and Greeble Bake. I don't know about you, but I think you can use this as for like those flow octopus like robotic limbs. You can use it for the you can use this detail specifically. Okay, so yeah, uh, making this video too long. Okay, that is it for this video. If you have any questions, use the comment section below or the links in the description. Thank you for your support so far, and I will continue um, basically updating this add-on just like what I'm doing with the other add-ons, making it better. Okay, so the Discord link is also in the docs folder, in the add-ons folder, so you can join there and ask me questions, or of course um, post your ideas on what the add-on should uh, be updated to next. Okay, so yeah, thank you for watching and have a nice day.